Chicago, Brooklyn, let your fro show. Jared Allen throwing it out.
Power.
There is power in that.
Yes,
it
is.
Power dunks.
You stay in the lane, you do what you do, and they share, and then when in doubt, you come rotate, you say, get that shot out of here.
Becoming one of the elite shot blockers in the league. 19 points, 6 rebounds, and those 2 blocks for Jared Allen.
I love it.
That opened the court for these 2 guys. D'Angelo Russell finding Damari Carroll, who finds Russell back.
Yeah, but how about that Brooklyn bench? 52-29 advantage.
Absolutely. Carroll adding to that. 20 points in the game. It's still kind of a close one. And then when it's closing time, Shabazz Napier, he's got game for that.
Yes, he does.
18 points, but leading the way, a guy you've seen already, D'Angelo Russell, the lefty.
I think he's maybe starting to figure it out, Coach.
Well, he started to figure it out when Dinwiddie came off the bench and was playing as well as Dinwiddie was playing. He said, I better get my act going.
There you go.
You see the 28, that's an average night for Russell recently. Last 4 games, averaging 27 a night. Orlando and the LA Clippers. When pushing the rock, you find that guy, Aaron Gordon. I mean, he's in movies for his ability to dunk, right?
Well, you got to play good half-court defense, get out and run, and DJ, that's pretty smart of you.
Yeah, well, maybe when you're that close to the rim, the shot will go down, but that's not the case for Orlando. They were horrendous shooting the basketball.
Well, these high percentage shots, I guess we're seeing all their makes are.
Was the big-time block by Obama. Get that shot out of here.
Clippers down by 8, but cool, calm, collected. That's how you describe Tobias Harris. That's how you describe Danilo Gallinari.
Doc Rivers has done a pretty good job with those 2 forwards, playing one of them as a center sometime during the course of the game.
19-4, Clippers run.
Point
Then
center.
Aaron Gordon.
Point center, Vucevic with the perfect pass.
That's how you get some energy back into your team if you're Orlando. But in the second half, that energy gone. Tobias taking the air out of the balloon. Then Montrezl Harrell.
Energy on top of energy on top of energy.
Get low to get high.
The 4 blue jerseys sitting there, watch Harold go up and finish it off with 2 hands.
Love watching him play.
Ahead by 9, it's a luxury to have a guy like Lou Will. Keep the foot on the gas. 15-point lead turns to a 17-point lead. Clippers roll easily, 106-96, led by Tobias Harris with a game-high 28. Miami and Atlanta, and the Hawks, they can take flight. Dwayne Wade, though, when he makes a pass like this, might be play of the year.
Oh!
Derrick Jones.
Man.
It's a luxury to have a guy like that. Also, Vince Carter. 3D, is he older than you?
No,
Think so.
almost. He's only about 48. He's still getting it done, though.
Vince and Jeremy Lin coming off the bench killed Miami.
Hawks scored 41 points in the third quarter. Trae Young finding his range in rhythm, 3 for 3 from three-point range, 19 points for Trae.
How about Miami cannot beat the Atlanta Hawks? Hawks 3-0 versus Miami.
And Miami came into this one hot. They had won 8 of their last 10.
Playing well.
But as you see, this was all Hawks all the time. Lynn, 11 points in the final 3 minutes of that third quarter, and then Vince Carter finishing out the game. Oh, how about that? Dwayne Wade still making his farewell tour and exchanging jerseys. Trae Young's going to appreciate that.
Yep, he'll show it to the family back in the day. He said, the Hall of Famer D. Wade gave me some time.
Young, a lottery pick in this year's draft, but how about the top pick, DeAndre Ayton? Get out of his way.
Ooh.
Did Charlotte get the win, though?
He's been in the weight room.
Okay, so Karl Anthony Towns, 28 points in each of his last 7 games, but breaking news from Minnesota. Tom Thibodeau has been fired as the head coach. This, according to Adrian Wojnarowski and Shams Charania, both Yahoo and ESPN reporting that Tom Thibodeau is out as the head coach the Minnesota Timberwolves.
And president, too, right? I mean, he was the president, too, coach. So when you get fired, you lose both of those jobs, right?
I think you lose both of them.
Yeah, I don't think you fire the coach and not fire the president, right? Because he was the president making the decisions for the coach.
Well,
Right time for that?
That could happen. You could fire somebody as a coach and keep him in the front office.
Right, okay.
Okay, like Urban Meyer leaves Ohio State, but he's going to be around. Some
President and coach, he's out as both.
Yeah, as both.
So
That's
3D,
official. Okay. Ooh.
Looking at the situation in Minnesota, why now?
Well, I guess, Glenn Taylor is the owner who sat down with his group and said, doesn't like the way things are going. The Jimmy Butler situation wasn't great. If you go back and look, and people say the Houston trade was probably better because there was more, picks there. So maybe they sit down and said, let's pull the trigger now before the All-Star break, before the trade deadline, if there's more moves to be made, Coach.
I look at it as because of their last stretch of 8 games, 5-3, brings them back into the playoff race. They're 2 games out of that 8th spot in the Western Conference. And you just got done saying how great Karl Anthony Towns has been playing. Karl Anthony Towns has a direct line to the owner of the team. That's how his contract got done over again. That wasn't a president making that move. That was the owner saying that. So maybe Karl Anthony Towns knows more than we do about what was going on in that situation. Perhaps that's the reason why we see a rejuvenated Karl Anthony Towns over the last 8 games. That's just speculation.
Well, again, this is reported right now. This is not official from the Minnesota Timberwolves, but if this is the case, you still have a team fighting for a playoff spot. What do they do now? How hard is it to find a head coach in the middle of a season?
I doubt that you make a move like that without knowing what direction you're heading in before.
Right.
Is it someone that's sitting out? And there are a number of recent head coaches that were fired that are sitting around, okay, that they might turn to. Or is there somebody within the organization that they have tremendous confidence in, that the players have shown the backing for that person, and that's who you turn to try and finish out, just like happened as Tyronn Lue took over in Cleveland and wound up finishing that season and was given the job full-time after that.
Yeah, in most cases, Chris, you stay within because one of those, if not all of those assistants collectively can continue to preach the system versus bringing a brand new coach in now and trying to, like to your point, last 8 games, Catman is rolling, so for a brand new coach to come in, now he has to either know the system they've been playing to kind of keep things going that way, or to your point, Coach, you're going to the top assistant you have in there. Maybe think Ed Pinckney, I think, is their top assistant right now.
I was just going to say.
He's been around a long time, and maybe it's an opportunity.
Ed Pinckney's been around a long time, has talked to a number of teams about possibly becoming their head coach. He's been by Thibodeau's side for a long, long time, and he's kind of been the go-between between players and coaching staff. Why not give him a chance? If
I think he deserves
it.
I think he deserves it. So it's be interesting.
So apparently Ryan Saunders is reportedly going to fill in on an interim basis as the coach there in Minnesota. So when you hear that name, what's the first thing you think about, Coach?
Think of his father, Flip.
Yep.
Okay? This young man grew up in a basketball household, and everyone who has worked with him has nothing but really good things to say about Ryan. So if that's the direction they're going in, he's going to work. He knows the game of basketball, and he obviously must be able to relate to the players because of the positions they've put him in within the organization. So if he's getting that shot, you wish him well, and we'll see the job he can do.
Ryan's been around from day one, to your point, Coach, as a kid. The one short year I was there, he's always been one of those kind of kids that's related to the players. He's been with the organization. He knows where as they say, where all the bodies are buried, so to speak. So I think he can fit in right away. And I think Cat and Wiggs and all those young guys are there now. I think they would accept it as well.
More on this situation as it progresses. So we see Tom Thibodeau reportedly out as the head coach there in Minnesota. And also,
American Express Halftime Report is brought to you by American Express, the official card of the NBA.
Giannis and the Bucks trying to make the Raptors fear the deer. Ahead 2-0 in this series this year. But it's just a 1-point game at the break. In the first game between these two teams this season, Giannis, Kawhi did not play. Second game, both kind of held under the wraps with Kawhi scoring 20, Giannis scoring 18. And in the first half tonight, Giannis with 18, Kawhi with 17. This is what we've been waiting for, these two star players scoring a lot and being effective.
Well, this is definitely what you want. When you have two great players like this, you want to see them put their talents on display. You want it to be a game where both of them shine. And that's what we're getting in the first half. Giannis is playing well, Kawhi's playing well, and it's a treat. And it's one of those things you love to see. Here you have Greek Freak ISO'd one-on-one against Siakam. One-on-one, there's nothing really he can do. Siakam is long and athletic, but the Greek Freak has too much space, too much room down here. Then you see right here, getting out in transition, running, taking his time, and you know he's going to finish strong and finish right at the rim. And now he's showing the diversity in this game because now he's leading the fast break. He sees the lane, attacks that rim. So what I like about these highlights is we're seeing Giannis all over the court doing different things. Right here, this is just a grown man rebound, bully ball right after the dunk, bouncing up. And now you see him initiating the screen, goes straight to the left, gets back to that right hand. Giannis can do it all. He can finish on the break, he can lead the break, he can rebound. And the best thing about him is when he sees an area and he sees space, he attacks it immediately.
And those clips are a really good example of it, but Giannis is the one who's benefiting the most. It's been an assault at the rim for Milwaukee in this first half. 28 points in the paint. They're getting right to the cup. That offensive rebound and putback, there's nobody in the lane 6'10" or bigger. They've taken advantage of the fact that Toronto is playing smaller in the absence of Jonas a little bit here.
When you look at the rebounding numbers, Giannis is out rebounding Toronto's front line 9-7. Is that something we overlook with his game because we're always talking about the three-point shot or whether or not he's scoring in the paint? But rebounding, at times, he's been dominant. This seems like one of those games with 9 rebounds in the first half.
Yeah, he can be dominant as a rebounder. He's also dominant as a playmaker. I mean, it's what makes him so special. He can literally, every time he steps on the floor, offer the potential for a triple-double, and you can feed off of him if he's not scoring. And one of the big reasons for it is because he's got the ability to grab those rebounds we saw in traffic. He rebounds out of his area. He's not a guy who's a space rebounder. He's just going to be bigger than you, longer than you, and go get one.
And that is a great part of his aspect of his game is because we talk about a lot of guys that are two-way players. He's a three-way player. He can score the basketball, he can defend, and then he can be a monster on the glass. He averages 13 rebounds a game. There's a lot of centers in this league playing 30 minutes or more that don't get that many rebounds. So it just tells you how diverse his game is, how many different ways he can help you win. And that's what winning is all about when we start talking about positionless basketball. When you have a guy that you can say, hey, he might can get you 40 or 50 on a given night, but if he's not scoring, he can help you defensively. Oh, and if he's not doing it defensively, he might get you 17, 18, 20 rebounds. That's what you're looking for in a star player.
So much focus on Kawhi, so much focus on Giannis. Kyle Lowry not in this game, one of your assist leaders in the NBA this year. Fred VanVleet stepping up. Great for the Raptors in the first half, but we saw him down towards the end of the half with an injury. 3 for 3 from outside. If he's not back in the second half or is not fully effective, what do the Raptors do?
Well, they'll probably lean on DeLon Wright, and DeLon Wright's a fine young player in this league, but that's a step down from VanVleet, who I think is probably the best backup point guard in this league, and DeLon is not a natural point guard. He has talent, he has size, he has ability with the ball, but I think Toronto offensively takes a step back if they don't have VanVleet, and on top of that, they already don't have Kyle Lowry, so being down to your third-string point guard normally hurts the offense, and it puts a lot of pressure on guys like Kawhi to try to do even more.
And it really changes the dynamic here because they don't have Kyle. Their closing lineup very often is both Kyle and VanVleet. Yeah. So it's not just that they're going to rely on DeLon, it's that they can't put their best closing lineup on the floor at all.
That's a great point, Griffin. We'll look for that in the closeout of this game to see what lineup they do end up going with. Kawhi Leonard bouncing back after that loss to the Spurs last night. And the Raptors pull it out over the Bucks. Nikola Jokic had himself a game. 39 points, a season high for him. And that's not the best part of his game, Griffin. It's the passing. It's the ability to rebound, get the extra shot. I mean, just an impressive overall performance for the Nuggets big man.
One of the plays they showed there was a big-to-big Jokic dropping it down to Miles Plumlee. Because Jokic is their primary playmaker and they don't need to keep a point guard on the floor, they've been able to play big-to-big a lot this year. They can play an enormous lineup out there with Paul Millsap on the court, with Juancho Hernan-Gomez, with Jokic, with Torrey Craig. they've kept a lot of size on the court, so at the end of games, they tend to overwhelm some teams on the defensive side, and they have absolutely picked up what Coach Malone is trying to do.
You said overwhelmed. How about this is an underwhelming ending? Jazz head by 3 final seconds.
What was that?
Reggie Jackson throws the interception.
And Blake is overwhelmingly disappointed.
So is Dwayne Casey.
Wait a minute. How many points were they down?
3.
Okay.
About 10 seconds to go.
Interesting. Interesting situation.
Blake Griffin, 34 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Andre Drummond, 15 points, 18 rebounds. And of course, Blake Griffin did not have the ball in his hands, and he's a point forward. That's the guy you want bringing the ball up the court there, right there.
It is, and again, it's another example of how badly they miss Ish Smith. They are absolutely not the same team in any way when Ish is not available to them.
That's extreme talent.
How do you learn how to balance a grill on your mouth?
Hard.
Time to double up on the dinosaurs. Sunday, right here on NBA TV, Toronto Raptors, Indiana Pacers. Game starts at 7:30, but make sure you tune in before that, 7 o'clock for the Auto Trader pregame show. And of course, the dinosaurs playing right now against the Milwaukee Bucks. They're just at the half, 1-point game with Milwaukee on top. And we're just going to circle at points in the paint there, Griff. Okay, because Raptors playing good defense in the paint, but still not able to stop what's happening.
Yeah, and if Milwaukee had not uncharacteristically given away 10 turnovers in that half, they've been so good in terms of ball control. They've been really good in limiting opponents' fast break opportunities, and neither one of those were particularly good in the first half, and they're still in the position they're in. I think this sets up rather well for Milwaukee moving forward, particularly if Van Vliet can't come back.
Yeah, for me, depending on who wins the second half, a lot of it's going to be determined by Van Vliet's health and availability.